Have you ever had that strange pause in life? The kind of moment where everything feels suspended, like reality itself is just waiting? Nothing's breaking, but nothing's moving forward either. It's as if the whole world is holding its breath. The people around you seem far away. Their voices echo like they're speaking from another layer of existence. Even the goals you once chased so fiercely suddenly taste dull, almost like ashes on your tongue. And the desires you thought would always pull you forward, the ones that acted like a compass pointing north, out of nowhere, they lose their pull. It's unsettling, right? Because we've been conditioned to think that momentum equals progress, that moving means meaning. So, when the drive fades, when the noise goes silent, it feels wrong, like something's broken inside. But here's the twist. It's not broken at all. You're not stuck. You're not in some spiritual dead end. What's really happening is that your universe is installing an upgrade. Imagine your soul getting a brand new operating system. In physics, there's a term for this. Before a particle jumps to a higher energy level, it enters what's called quantum superposition. That's not a pause. It's the most alive state possible. Every potential outcome exists at once, waiting for consciousness to choose which becomes real. And right now, you're that particle, hovering between worlds. You're standing in the middle of infinite possibilities, holding the weight of choice. It isn't a void. It's a cosmic loading screen where the next chapter of your life is literally being built in real time. The rational mind doesn't like that, of course. It wants a roadmap, evidence, something concrete to cling to. But the quantum field doesn't play by those rules. What's happening is the complete dismantling of your old energetic architecture. Picture your life as a giant web of frequencies and patterns that's kept you locked into one version of reality for years. When your soul decides it's time to level up, that web starts dissolving. Not in chaos, but with purpose. Old soul contracts expire, outdated beliefs loosen their grip, and because it all begins in the invisible layer before showing up in your physical world, the first thing you feel is emptiness, like your inner compass just stopped working. The mind hates that. It screams, "Something's wrong." But the truth is that emptiness is the clearest sign that everything is about to go spectacularly right. Mystics have described this for centuries as the sacred pause, the fertile darkness where creation stirs before it takes form. Your consciousness is restructuring itself to match the frequency of the reality you've been calling in. The strategies, the identities, the hustle that got you here, they won't carry you forward. They belong to a version of you that no longer exists. Your real job in this space isn't to panic or fill the silence with distractions. It's to breathe, to honor it, because it's not empty. It's full of intelligence, rewiring your life in ways your logical brain could never design. Even neuroscience confirms this. Research on brain plasticity shows that stillness is essential for rewiring pathways. As you rise into a higher frequency, your nervous system recalibrates, your brain updates its predictive models. Your cells learn how to hold an entirely new baseline of energy. And this integration period, it isn't optional. You can't drag the chaos of your old timeline into the coherence of the new one. Release always comes before reception. Think of it like the silence before a symphony. The conductor raises the baton, the musicians are poised, and the entire hall is thick with anticipation. Or picture an archer pulling back a bow. That tension isn't hesitation. It's the very power that launches the arrow farther than raw effort ever could. That's what's happening to you. Life is pulling you back, not to hold you down, but to catapult you into a trajectory far beyond what you thought possible. In physics, this is called non-locality, information transferring instantly across space without a physical bridge. And right now, your consciousness is living that reality. You are already entangled with your future self. That version of you is sending instructions backward through time, downloading into your awareness right now. That's why, in this phase, you'll suddenly get flashes of knowing, clarity around decisions that used to paralyze you, insights that arrive out of nowhere, yet feel completely true. These aren't random thoughts. They're transmissions from your future self, bleeding through the thin walls of time. The distance between who you are and who you're becoming is collapsing. Here's the danger, though. Most people misread this phase. They panic at the stillness. They mistake the void for failure. They try to drown it out with noise. Old habits, empty distractions, low-frequency chaos. But all that does is drag out the process. Resistance makes the in-between heavier. The ones who make it through are the ones who lean into the silence. They treat the quiet as proof of progress. They stop fighting it and start listening. That's when subtle signs begin to appear. A random conversation that shifts your perspective, an unexpected emotional release, a sudden moment of clarity after months of confusion. None of it's random. It's the field aligning itself around you. So, if you're standing here right now, unmoored, uncertain, but absolutely sure you can't go back, celebrate. This is the place where transformation becomes inevitable. And in the time we're about to spend together, I want to show you how to not just endure this suspension, but actually use it as rocket fuel for your leap into the next version of yourself. Because here's the secret. Quantum leaps don't usually announce themselves with fireworks. More often, they start quietly, with friction. Not the explosive kind that tears your life apart, but the subtle kind. A faint sense that the pieces no longer fit. Conversations that used to light you up now feel empty. Career paths that once sparked passion suddenly ring hollow. Even your inner voice sounds foreign, like it belongs to someone you no longer recognize. This is what I call frequency discord. Your soul is rising to a higher vibration, while parts of your life are still vibrating in the old one. In quantum mechanics, this is known as decoherence, when two systems stop resonating in harmony. And that tension you feel, it isn't an error. It's proof that your current reality can't contain the blueprint of your next one. It's like trying to run cutting-edge software on outdated hardware. Things glitch, they lag, they crash, not because the program failed, but because the system needs an upgrade. That upgrade is your leap. And during this discord phase, you'll notice the mismatch everywhere. Conversations feel shallow, not because people have changed, but because your frequency has. You're literally speaking a new language. They're still tuned to the old channel, while you're already catching signals from the new one. It can feel lonely, but it's actually confirmation that you're on track. You're breaking free from the collective vibration that once held you in place. Spiritually, this is when deep, unsettling questions begin to rise. Why does it feel like I'm falling apart if I'm supposed to be evolving? But the truth is, you're not falling apart. You're simply falling out of resonance with your old timeline. This tension isn't the enemy. It's the engine. Imagine standing with one foot on two boats drifting apart. Sooner or later, you have to commit. And the boat that matches your frequency will always feel like home, even if it means leaving behind the familiar shore. The old reality runs on density, struggle, and linear cause and effect. The new one runs on coherence, flow, and quantum causation. You can't carry the old tools into the new world any more than you can use a typewriter to log into the internet. They just don't belong there. That's why everything tied to your old life starts to feel foreign, why the strategies that once worked suddenly collapse. And this crossroads? It's where most people get stuck. The mind, terrified of uncertainty, begs you to cling to what's dissolving. It whispers, "Fix what's breaking. Mend what's slipping away. Hold on." But in the quantum field, trying to patch the past is regression. What looks like destruction is actually release. Beliefs, identities, and patterns that can't survive in your new timeline are crumbling away. If you rush to rebuild them, you delay your leap. If you allow them to dissolve, you accelerate it. Remember what physics calls entanglement. Once two particles connect, they remain linked no matter how far apart they drift. You are entangled with your future self right now. Every thought, every feeling, every choice you make sends a signal instantly shaping that reality. That's why this release phase feels so intense. You're not only letting go of the past, you're signaling to the field that you're ready for what's already waiting. And yes, it can absolutely feel like a crisis of identity. The job titles, the roles, the relationship labels, even the personality traits you thought defined you. They suddenly feel like costumes. But this isn't a collapse of self. It's an expansion of self. You're outgrowing the labels. You're becoming bigger than the boxes you once lived inside. Often, this shift shows up as a dramatic reprioritization. If money used to be your primary drive, suddenly it feels irrelevant. If recognition once fueled you, the thrill fades. Even spiritual trophies, the chase for enlightenment, the hunger for mystical experiences, start to feel hollow. Not because you're apathetic, but because your consciousness has expanded beyond them. Your old timeline was built on scarcity, competition, and proving your worth. The new timeline runs on abundance, collaboration, and a deep knowing, right down to your bones, that you're already enough. And that's why the transition feels so disorienting. Your mind is still clinging to outdated maps. Quantum physics gives us the perfect metaphor. When an electron leaps to a higher orbital, it doesn't climb there step by step. It absorbs the exact energy it needs, and then, in an instant, it's just there. One moment it's in the old state, the next it's in the new. No halfway zone. That's how a quantum leap happens. Your leap takes place the moment your frequency fully matches the new reality. Not through grinding, not through endless effort, not through forcing outcomes. It happens through release, through letting the old dissolve so completely that the new can lock into place. And this is where so many trip themselves up. That frantic need to fix, to prove, to push. It's a sign you're trying to straddle two incompatible worlds. Effort belongs to the slow lane. Alignment belongs to the fast one. The field doesn't respond to how hard you hustle. It responds to how cleanly you resonate. One moment of crystal clear alignment, one resounding yes vibrating through your whole being, can collapse a new reality faster than months of scattered activity. That's the paradox. And what we've covered so far, that's only the beginning. If something inside you is stirring right now, if you feel that deep resonance, then you've already touched the edge of this truth. The next step is learning how to consciously transmit frequency, how to master it. That's what my full guide, Beyond the Frequencies, was created for. It takes you through 9 master frequencies that transform you from someone endlessly chasing change into someone who naturally embodies it. But even without that, you can begin today. Here's a simple but powerful reframe. If parts of your life are falling away, relationships, opportunities, even pieces of your own identity, don't ask, "How do I get them back?" Instead, ask, "What space is opening for me?" That single shift moves you from resistance into receptivity. In quantum language, resistance creates static. It scrambles your signal. Receptivity, on the other hand, clears the channel so your desired timeline can lock on to you. And here's the paradoxical twist. The more urgently you try to rush this process, the longer it drags out. Think about deep-sea divers. If they rise too quickly, their bodies can't adapt to the sudden change in pressure. They get decompression sickness. Spiritually, the same thing happens here. If you try to leap without integrating the energy shifts, your system will yank you back to stabilize. That's why patience, trust, and presence aren't passive. They're the active catalysts of transformation. So, if your life feels half erased right now, if you're standing in the ashes of what's no longer useful while unable to see what's being built, breathe. You're not lost. You're on the launch pad. The discord you feel, it's energy coiling up, winding tighter, preparing to propel you into the new reality already coded into the quantum field. If this resonates, if it's striking something deep, lean in. Like this message, share it. Let the field know you're saying yes to your leap. Because your only real job is to release the dissolving boat and trust the current of the new one. Your soul already knows. The leap isn't waiting on timing. It's waiting on you. And right before that leap crystallizes, you'll notice something wild. Your emotions feel turned up to maximum, like someone just cranked the sensitivity dial on your entire being. One moment, you're buzzing with certainty, absolutely sure something magnificent is about to unfold. The next, doubt sneaks in. What if this is just my imagination? What if I'm fooling myself? But here's the truth. That isn't emotional instability. It's not failure. It's the signature of a consciousness in transition. Neuroscience explains this with predictive modeling. The brain is constantly projecting futures based on old data. Your higher self is pulling you into a brand new timeline, while your subconscious clings to familiar programming because it feels safe. This is the superposition state. Multiple realities existing at once. You're literally oscillating between 2 timelines. The old one you've lived and the new one you're stepping into. And your emotions? They're the swing back and forth between them. Excitement means you're tuned into the new. Doubt means the old is tugging at you. The more intense the emotional roller coaster, the closer you are to collapse. The moment one timeline wins and becomes your sole reality. That's why things feel overwhelming right before the leap. Every emotion is amplified because your system is recalibrating in real time. Your consciousness is scanning every belief, every memory, every attachment. Does this fit the new reality, or is it residue from the old one? And because emotions are the messengers of transformation, they rise to the surface to be processed. You might cry for no reason. You might laugh uncontrollably. Your dreams might become vivid, almost otherworldly. It's not madness, it's cleansing. Think of it as a kind of spiritual spring cleaning. Buried grief, forgotten hopes, suppressed joy, they bubble up for release. Even your dreams take on meaning. They often show you glimpses of multiple timelines at once, offering clues about what's ahead and what still needs to be let go. The biggest trap here is misinterpretation. People think, if I'm this scared, maybe I'm not ready. But that's like thinking turbulence means the plane isn't flying. In reality, turbulence is proof that you're ascending. You're moving into new atmospheric layers. The faster you learn to ride those currents, the smoother your journey becomes. Here's a powerful shift. Stop labeling emotions as positive or negative. See them as energy signatures. Joy, fear, anticipation, uncertainty. They're just currents of energy flowing through your field. None of them are wrong. They're simply pointing to where your attention is focused in the moment. If you treat them as obstacles, you amplify the wobble. If you treat them as data, you stabilize. From a spiritual lens, these heightened emotions are initiation. The universe is essentially asking, can you hold your frequency steady even when everything around you shakes? Because that's the very skill you'll need in the new reality you're entering. And here's the relief. You can't fail this. It's not a test, it's training. It's strengthening your vibrational muscles. One of the fastest ways to stabilize is to step into conscious neutrality. When excitement spikes, don't cling to it as proof. When doubt surfaces, don't run from it in fear. Breathe into both, knowing their temporary fluctuations. Visualize yourself as the calm eye of a storm. The winds whirl around you, but you stay centered. That level of emotional mastery signals you're seconds away from locking into your chosen reality. So, if your emotions feel chaotic right now, don't mistake it for instability. It's motion. The field is adjusting itself to hold you in the frequency you've chosen. The more gracefully you surf these emotional waves, the faster the oscillation resolves. Soon, you won't flicker between two worlds. You'll land firmly in the one you've been calling all along. And then comes what feels like the final exam, though it's not really a test in the traditional sense. Think of it more like your subconscious running one last systems check before you step fully into your leap. Right before the shift locks in, old patterns often resurface. You might bump into familiar situations, a conversation that stings the same way an old relationship once did, a money worry that echoes years of scarcity programming, or a wave of self-doubt that feels hauntingly familiar. These aren't punishments. They're mirrors. They reflect the old frequency one last time, giving you the choice. Do you still want to live here, or are you ready to step forward? Neuroscience explains it perfectly. The brain is wired for efficiency. It defaults to the neural pathways you've practiced the most. Old habits, old reactions, old thought loops, they're still alive, waiting for validation. The only way to rewire them permanently isn't by fighting them. It's by choosing differently, right there in the moment. Every time you respond from your higher frequency instead of your history, you weaken the old circuit and strengthen the new one. Quantum physics calls this the collapse of the probability wave. Until you act, both versions of you exist at once. The moment you embody the new response, the old reality dissolves, and the new one becomes the only broadcast you're sending into the field. That's why these final test moments feel electrically charged. They're not random. They're the last overlap between who you were and who you're becoming. Spiritually, this isn't judgment. It's initiation. It's a ceremony. You're standing at the threshold of your new reality, key in hand. And the door only opens when you vibrate as the version of you who belongs there. So, when scarcity knocks, answer with abundance. When anger flares, meet it with compassion. When doubt whispers, stand in presence. These aren't just symbolic gestures. They're vibrational choices. The quantum field doesn't approve you. It simply mirrors who you are in that moment. And here's where many people stumble. They see these resurfacing patterns and assume, if I'm still attracting this, I must be failing. But the opposite is true. The fact that you're aware of these cycles means you've already shifted enough to clear them. You can't release what you haven't yet outgrown. Think of it like a flight simulator. Pilots train in turbulence so that when it hits midair, they know exactly how to stabilize. These so-called final exams are your simulator sessions. They give you a safe space to demonstrate your new state under pressure that used to shake you. Each time you respond with alignment, you're not imagining your leap. You're living it. So, if you're facing setbacks, tension, or people from your past suddenly reappearing, don't panic. Don't call it regression. See it clearly. It's the signal that you're brushing right against the threshold of your leap. This is the moment to hold alignment with the greatest intensity, to live as if the leap has already happened, because in a quantum sense, it has. Anchor it in. Say it out loud. Write it into existence. I choose the new timeline. That declaration carries the vibration of certainty, locking you into your chosen path. Now, here's what nobody tells you about a leap. It doesn't usually show up with fireworks. In the movies, transformation is loud. Flashing lights, epic music, dramatic before and after. But in real life, it often arrives quietly. You wake up one morning and realize that anxiety no longer controls you. The problem you obsessed over for months simply doesn't matter anymore. A conversation that would have wrecked you last week leaves you calm and steady. The shift doesn't announce itself. It just becomes who you are. And because it feels so natural, your mind might even downplay it. Was that it? Was that the big change? But that ordinariness is the proof. When an electron leaps orbits, it doesn't climb a ladder. It simply disappears from one state and reappears in another. Instantaneous. Seamless. That's what your leap feels like. Neurologically, this is called integration. The outdated circuits stop firing, the new pathways take over, and you don't have to force it anymore. Thinking differently becomes effortless. It's simply your baseline. That's why so many people miss the exact moment of their leap. It feels as natural as breathing. Ordinary. But that ordinariness is the real evidence. The new you doesn't see it as a breakthrough. They see it as normal. You'll notice subtle confirmations. Foods you once craved lose their appeal. Music that used to move you falls flat. Places that once felt safe feel foreign. This isn't disconnection, it's recalibration. Your system is realigning toward what resonates with your new frequency. At the same time, old connections fade without drama. Friendships that once felt vital suddenly feel forced. Conversations that once lit you up now leave you drained. Not because those people are wrong, but because you're no longer tuned to the same channel. This is the quiet confirmation. The universe whispering, you've matched the frequency so completely, there's nothing left to chase. You're living it now, and it brings a deep, abiding peace. A sense that you've stopped running after life and finally started inhabiting it. Ironically, it's often when you stop hunting for signs that you notice them everywhere. A lyric that mirrors your inner state, a chance encounter that feels perfectly timed, repeating numbers that seem to follow you around, synchronicities stack up like breadcrumbs. And yet, you don't obsess because you no longer need the proof. The temptation here is to slip back into old habits, to prod the field, to over-visualize, to double-check if it worked. But that impulse belongs to the old timeline. The new reality runs on trust, not effort. Flow, not control. Just because the leap felt subtle doesn't mean it was small. In fact, the quiet shifts are usually the most permanent, because they're not just happening in your circumstances. They're happening in your identity. This is the moment to lean into embodiment. Stop asking, "Did it work?" and start asking, "How do I live fully as this version of me?" Every choice from here reinforces your new reality. Each action isn't an attempt to force change. It's an expression of who you already are. That's when the field weaves in even more coherence, sending opportunities, relationships, and experiences that naturally align with you without forcing. So, if you've been waiting for the leap to feel explosive, shift your perspective. Notice the quiet confirmations, the mornings when you wake up light, the conversations that flow with ease, the sudden clarity around choices that used to paralyze you. These are your markers of arrival. You're already here. Your only task now is to live it. And if you've followed this far, you know this isn't just about subscribing to a channel, it's about subscribing to a frequency, joining a movement of consciousness that sees reality as fluid and transformation as inevitable. This isn't just information, it's elevation. And if you're still watching, it isn't coincidence. You've already been resonating with a higher timeline. You've already been tuning into the version of yourself who has what you've been seeking. It's no longer about reaching for some distant future. You're already in it. Now it's about stabilizing, integrating, and expanding. Because the leap you've made is just the beginning. The field doesn't respond to desire, it responds to coherence. And you've already proven you can hold coherence long enough to collapse a brand new reality around you. The next step is to make this frequency your permanent home. That means no slipping back when things get quiet. No testing the universe to see if it's still working. It means anchoring so deeply into your new identity that nothing can shake it. Remember, you're not here to force life into shape. You're here to align with the reality that already contains everything you've ever wanted. Watch it unfold with an effortlessness that feels almost magical. That's the elegance of living in sync with the quantum field. Here's a practice. For the next 7 days, revisit this message each morning. Let it set your frequency for the day. And if you know someone who's ready for this kind of shift, share it. Because when you share, you don't just awaken another soul. You deepen your own embodiment, sending ripples that accelerate your transformation. Before you leave, drop one word in the comments. Just one. A word that captures the energy you're choosing to embody moving forward. Let it be your declaration to the field, your vibrational signature. And until the next transmission, stay coherent, stay present. Trust the quiet power of the leap you've already taken, because now that you understand the mechanics of transformation, you're ready for what comes next. In the upcoming video, we'll explore the signs that show you've fully landed in your new reality, how to recognize when the field has shifted permanently around you. For now, remember this. Your leap doesn't wait for perfect timing. It waits for the perfect you. And the moment you stop clinging to what's dissolving and embrace what's arriving, the field snaps into alignment instantly. That's when everything changes, quietly, seamlessly, and inevitably. And when it does, you'll wonder why you ever doubted in the first place.